I put in the
6 minutes until showtime.
It's not going here. I don't understand this. Because it's restream. It says we are, but this one isn't. Yeah, there we are, but
Oh yeah, the X.
unable to connect.
Hmm.
Alright, so we're gonna have to.
Oh, then my name, like, to refresh me, even under the games, trying to get hold
Hold
of
on, we are live right now.
it.
Except here. What? Oh god, alright. Okay, settings. Alright, let's try this again. Alright, hold on. Go to copy.
5 minutes until showtime.
Get my copy.
5 minutes.
Yeah,
Being open.
alright, hold on.
So if I
Okay, so we'll go live now. Unable to connect. Alright, so we're gonna have to go off restream.
only on that's the only, the restream one. Oh, yay, okay.
Okay, so thank you!
There we go.
Thought my computer was possessed. Alright,
That's
so.
always an option.
Okay, fetching video stream, go live. Okay. Alright, so then we get Kyle with his montage of pictures.
4 minutes until showtime.
Alright, 4 minutes. Alright, so this is the board. When somebody comes in, they usually come in silent. Okay, under mute. And you have to put the mic on, put them on, and then you go back to mute.
So that way they're on hold while all the other stuff is going on.
Right. Alright. And then hello, the sound bits. Excuse me, this is our close, intro 2, intro 1, and sponsor and break is what we have. So, Carl is not called in yet. Alright, I'll open another Facebook. So, but people should be able to watch us live on YouTube right now. And the other one that I'm not saying the name of is better. What are you doing?
3 minutes until showtime.
I have a million bags. I just got a bag. Empty bag goes with the bag.
I gave him the number, so hopefully he'll call in. Oh, there we are.
There he is.
Let's see. There we are. I don't know where he is. Alright, Kyle's not in yet. We got 2 minutes.
A woman putting makeup on is like putting on her armor.
Is
You
it?
know that?
Okay, so let's go to. It's gotta be allergies because my eyes are all fuzzing out tonight, so bear with me.
No worries.
What happened?
What on earth is
Why is he calling my house phone?
Are you serious? Oh,
2 minutes until showtime.
I can't. Ow. Where is he? Kyle.
You've done this a few times.
Yeah, I know. Hold on. Oh. Alright, let's see. We need to message Carl. Alright, so keep going, shoulder. I don't know why he is calling in on my phone. Oh my gosh, no. It's, what's the call-in number again?
323-870-3877.
He's funny. I don't know why he's trying to call into my cell phone. I don't know.
I hope Mama Johnson's okay.
Yeah, me too.
That was my first thought.
Yeah. Oh, right.
1 minute until showtime.
Okay. I don't know why he's trying to call my phone. Yeah, I can't text from my phone right now. It screws everything up.
Do you have the number? Maybe I'll put it on the number.
Yeah, but hold on. We're going live pretty soon. Right here. There it is. That's the number.
Here you go.
Okay. You.
Oh, I have no phone service.
Oh, you can.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4,
All right.
3, 2,
We'll figure it out.
1. Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening. I'm Edson Odell, the acting CEO of the RIP Radio Network, and this work is protected by Creative Commons license.
Anyone here that would like to communicate with us? Can you give us a sign of
Which shows 7 days a week from 8 o'clock p.m. to 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The shows such as Bill Land, Road Talk Radio, Just Short of Fancy, Knowledge from Behind the Bed, Original the Unknown, Dream or Trucker, and now for your DJ show. For the next 2 fun-filled hours, get ready to learn something new, be inspired, enlightened, spooked, helped, laugh, cry, and be awakened. And now, your hosts of Awakening the Unknown. You never know what these two will be up to next. So please welcome Susan Swanbeck and Michelle Sullivan.
Well, hello there, everybody. How you doing out there this fine and fantastic Thursday night? God, I just love Thursdays. But just in case our guest is listening, Carl Johnson, if you could do me a favor, darling, and not call the cell phone, but if you could call in, I did send it to your messenger in case you're listening. Send it over to 323-870-3877. Call into the Blog Talk number. So hopefully there is no problem as we wait to hear from Carl. But, you know, I have the strangest things happen to me. I swear to God, the strangest things ever. No, you can't. Absolutely can't, because
I tell you.
you know, I seem to be like the taxi lately, but that's okay. You know, it really is. I don't mind. They're my kids, and they're in between cars, and Bo's very picky and wants to get his wife something nice. So, I mean, that's just who he is. He's a sweetheart. So, I've been transporting kids all over the place lately. I think my allergies are kicking in tonight, so bear with me. But unfortunately, because I've been so busy, I haven't had my usual meditation quiet time.
Oh, I took you that,
So-
not last night, but the night before.
Yeah.
I fell asleep in the tub.
You know you have to talk.
Oh, yes, till 4 a.m. in the morning. So I totally get the feeling. It doesn't seem to want to...
Okay. So, all right.
It's in there. It's in
There you
there.
go. All right,
All
so
right.
I'm driving home from Cava after dropping Bo off at his job because he works nights because he says he makes more money that way.
That might be a true fact, actually.
Yeah,
That
so
might be a true
yeah, he
fact.
does. He makes more money, but he's coming up to fresh fruit season, which is where he makes even more.
True.
Anyways, make a long story short, I'm driving home. Meanwhile, I'm driving on the highway. I have my 15-year-old with me, and that's the time my guys decide, hey, let's give Sue some messages.
Well, why not?
You know, it's like, guys, I'm trying to drive a car.
Now but these have to be some pretty darn important messages for them to interrupt you, literally focusing and driving.
Oh, that's not the first time it's
This,
happened.
well, they probably cut you
Yeah.
a loan. So,
So I asked them very nicely, okay, could you, like, I don't know, not talk to me now? Can we have the conversation later? And they're like, no. You know, it's just like, you know what it is? It's the same thing when I say, Joe, take out the trash.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you notice when you ask a teenager to take out the trash, it still sits there?
Oh, for days. Are you kidding me?
Unless
For
he goes
days.
to Auntie Michelle's house.
And it's funny, I just go, Joe, would you mind?
And then,
like, he does it.
boom, out the door he goes.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't know where our guest is, so we're just going to keep talking about just about anything we can think of. So let's see who's online right now with us.
Well, I do have to say, I really did. Carl, I hope you call in. I hope everything's okay. I hope Mama Bear's all good. I hope your brother and everyone else in the family is all good.
Yeah, I really hope everyone is really good. So we're just going to continue going because you know us, we never give up.
We
And
never do.
bear with my voice tonight. I did drive home with the windows open, so my allergies kicking in tonight. Probably wasn't a good idea. So
Well, they're trying to kill all
tonight,
of-
Michelle decided to go all business.
All business, darling.
Okay, and I figured, howdy, how y'all doing?
Mm-hmm. You like that? you like, how do I explain it? You have your style of business, I got mine.
Yeah, this is my style of business. Let's get busy here.
Get busy.
All right, so Kyle should be coming in shortly. The book that he wrote was actually called Shadow Realms.
This
It
is
was
a
written by,
demonology book.
yes, this is a demonology book. I did send it over. It was like, normally I have a week or two to read the book, but I was literally finishing it up today. So,
I know. But
So, and then I had to bring it into work. I had guides talking to me, and then I'm coming back. And I know I got to do more. So it's like, okay, I could do that, pop in the shower, usual stuff. So, yeah.
Now, was there anything important that the guys were trying to get to? They were like,
Well,
sorry, my Hot Pockets on the way home.
no, they weren't talking about Hot Pockets. Hey, Carlton. Hi, Stephanie. Don't
Hello,
forget.
Holly.
Hey, fill you guys in.
Yes.
All right, Saturday night is when our psychic and training will be going out blind.
Going blind.
Blind. Going blind, for those of you that are unaware what that means.
Yes.
Going blind means she gets absolutely no historical background to the place.
None.
Everybody else but you will know what the history of the building is. And that is to give your senses, I want you to spit out everything that you see, sense, feel, and hear is what I want you to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
going to help you have a lot of faith in yourself and your abilities. And sooner or later, I can go back to doing my thing, and you'll be doing the psychic stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I got the rest of the production team, and I'm working the class with them. They're learning the cameras. They're working how to edit. They're working how to use the studio equipment. And we're taking them also on the road this Saturday.
There he is! We have him! Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. The one, the only, Carl L. Johnson!
Hi there!
You like that one, huh?
What I was listening to was so interesting I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh,
Going in
no.
blind. I know some psychics want to do that. They want to go in blind.
Right?
Yep.
Right? And it's interesting because we're
Yeah,
starting
they
a
prefer
brand
it
new
because
thing.
that way their impressions aren't contaminated and they can give a more true reading.
Exactly.
Also attest to their ability.
Exactly.
Yes.
And
yes,
also
yes.
it helps with confirmation with people that are new and haven't had the ability to utilize their gifts for a while. But just so everybody knows, we happen to have Carl Johnson on, which he was on our first show ever.
Our very first show
Our very
ever
first
on the
show
Riff
ever.
Network.
He was here with the Riff Network. And then we had Lana on, who's also co-author of the book Shadow Realms.
Yes.
I'm going to pull up, and the reason there is, and if you are on the page and you've read the blog talk description, there is a viewer and listener, please be it, oh my God, I'm having a bloody great time. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. And the reason for that is not everybody can handle the demonology type thing.
Yes,
That's actually
yeah. You want to keep it kind of, I mean, some people have
Yeah.
different.
So
things they
this
can
way,
handle.
you now have free reign to explain everything.
Keep nothing hidden, Carl.
So, I mean, I really did find this book very fascinating. I really did. I really enjoyed it. I liked the information in it. A couple of your theories actually had me looking up a couple other books, like
Ooh,
the Book
yes.
of Enos. I started reading the description of the Book of Enos, and I'm saying, wait a minute, I want to read that.
Carl, I actually marked off every single Bible verse that you recommended in my Bible that's over 100 years old today. So,
Well, thank you. You probably know them better than I do at this point.
Well, she does study every Friday.
I do Bible study in Portuguese actually every Friday.
Yeah.
But I do have a mark because I did want to see and read and I wanted to immerse myself in the book and know exactly what you were saying, what you're explaining. So it is marked off if anybody or if you want like to read them or bring them up, I have them here in the holiest of holy Bibles. And in English and in Portuguese if we have people out there who like to hear the verse in Portuguese as well. I can read that for you like.
Well, the first question I want to start off with, honestly, is I know that you have been involved with the paranormal for a very long time, but I wanted you to give your description of what actually demonology is.
Oh, may I answer one other question you haven't even asked for? Well, you did ask how I got started in this.
Okay.
Kind of owe that to my mother. I don't know if you've had a chance to see the episode. It's a fairly recent episode of A Haunting, and that tells the story of my brother and sister and I growing up in a sporadically haunted house in Scituate, Rhode Island.
Yep, and you decided to move in the basement,
and
right?
They had actresses.
Yeah.
Well, an actor portraying my father, an actress portraying my mother, an actress portraying my sister, and my brother. Apparently, I was a really good-looking kid. But,
Absolutely.
would you like to
were.
say hello to my mom? She's right here.
Hi,
Mom.
Hi, Mama Bev Johnson. We talked to her.
And
earlier.
here she is. Say hello, Mom. This is the radio show.
Hello.
Hi, honey, how you doing?
How are you, Mama Bev? How are you doing?
Okay, I'm doing all right.
Good.
You
Thank you.
Are you keeping our famous demonologist in line?
Are you proud of him? He's got another book out.
Keeping the demonologist in line and keeping me
Oh yeah, I try. I don't do very good though.
Hey, Mother, what did you get? My mother's, her name is Beverly Johnson.
Yes.
Mom, what do you think of that actress who played you on A Haunting? What do you think of that actress, the lookalike actress?
She didn't look a thing like I did.
Oh, heck no. You're way more
Absolutely
stunning,
nothing.
gorgeous. She's
I wasn't nearly as heavy as that, and I just didn't look like that. And neither did my husband.
They couldn't find someone to truly portray you because they just all paled in comparison, Mama Beth. That's why.
They all failed in comparison.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Nobody can be Mama Bev Johnson but Mama Bev Johnson. I mean, to wrangle two demonologist boys, it's pretty tough lady.
Oh, I got her all wound up now.
Yeah.
I guess I'll think I got you wound up, yeah. Well, I just wanted to
That's all you gotta do is start speaking and you get
Yeah,
all
she says
wound
that,
up.
I don't know.
Oh my goodness, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
the actor who played my father didn't really look like him. I mean, he was never that heavy.
Wow.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, you know, but he had more of a portly man
Well,
portraying
they say
him.
the camera adds 10 pounds, so maybe, you know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well,
You mean when I don't look at
40
myself on
pounds,
video,
yeah.
I'm thinner. That's cool.
Right. Carl, tell her, right? She's a lot, 10 pounds thinner in real life, right?
Yeah, I'll believe that. Sure.
It's true.
I'd like to know. I'd like to see the shy side of 200 pounds again, but for a healthy reason. Yeah.
Yes,
You know, like
yes.
my brother's losing weight, and I got to do that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You had some recent health issues, I heard. Hopefully you're doing a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Mama
Let
Beth's
me
telling you
see
something.
something.
Trouble.
That is,
All right, so
no, look at the tow
before
truck.
we get
It's
into
like
your
a tow
book,
truck.
before we actually do get into your book, let's get into the beginning. You growing up in the house, you moving to the basement, and I know that you had some experiences in the house you were growing up, which is appearing on a new episode. Why don't you start from the beginning of why you took this direction? And then we'll actually get into all the parts of this book, because we're going to make people buy this book. I read this book, you need this book.
I was going to say you either read my book or saw the television episode, because yes, I did move down to the basement, and that's where things started to happen. Haunted house in Situate, Rhode Island, and I think it started off with playing on a Ouija board. My sister and I would, and we asked for a sign, and the spirit of the board said cellar. And so I went down. My sister and I sat on the cellar stairs, and we heard rapping on a wooden partition along the stairwell. And that seemed to, altercations were happening in the house anyway, but that really upgraded it. And eventually I wanted my own space, being a teenager, so I moved my room down to the basement. And that's when I started hearing the noises that before we had heard while we were upstairs. And I thought, they're going on while I'm down here. One time I was fumbling for the light, and I saw the apparition, I guess I could say, of a woman. This is what we would call in the trade a full-bodied apparition.
Right.
Seemingly very solid. She didn't make any sound. I have to say she, because it was the figure of a woman. She didn't make any sound as she walked across the floor toward me, and as she walked by me, and that was quite alarming. At the time, I didn't, because I didn't expect it at all, and I mean, I had been talking to spirits and trying to get a response, but that happened when I was not doing so, and there it was. And I saw her 4 times altogether. So that really kicked in my interest in paranormal. And I seem to center more on the dark side. That may have started with my involvement in the Perrin case.
Right.
The Perrin family lived out in Harrisville, part of Barberville, Rhode Island, in a farmhouse. And I think the farmhouse was built in 1734. It was really old. I mean, parts of it had been redone, but the core of the house was in colonial times. It was constructed. Mm-hmm. And, I was involved in that first paranormal investigation of the Perrin household. And 40 years later, that became the subject of the movie The Conjuring.
Right.
Yes. And it was, it was my brother Keith and I who called in Edward and Lorraine Warren to assist with that investigation. So,
yes. Thank goodness.
Became history.
Yes.
So that's how I studied. And then my first, that was my first residential case in which I was involved.
Yeah, you were in college at the time. It was a Rhode Island college chapter.
Case, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then, what was it that you knew? Actually, the Annabelle thing was all kind of related to the Conjuring and Perrin case too.
Case at all. But it is a Warren file.
Warren file. Yes, that's right.
I
don't know if you remember, Carl, but Cody just brought to my attention in the chat room. It happens to be Ed Warren's anniversary of his death today, by the way.
Oh.
Oh, my word, thanks for reminding me. It is. Yes,
that was Cody.
Yep. I can only imagine how Miss Lorraine's doing.
Wow.
Yes, well, my brother used to call in and express, he used to call Lorraine because they were quite on friendly terms. Mm-hmm. And my brother would call on the anniversary of his passing, or he'd send a card, and I don't know if Lorraine receives them, or she doesn't take calls anymore.
Right, yeah, she's
more even from Keith, as she now says. Mm-hmm. Pretty much so now. Right. And, yes, this is the anniversary of it. The 23rd of August has always been rather strange for me.
Oh.
I mean, by kind of coincidence, I'm doing your show tonight. I'm honored to have been your first guest.
Oh, yes.
But maybe I'll be your last guest 40 years from now.
Yeah, you never know.
Well, you're not retiring anytime soon.
No, you can't. You can't retire. You got more writing to do.
Absolutely.
That I do, yeah.
And we got way more investigating to do together, Carl.
We gotta.
Yes, we're just starting that.
Oh, we're just beginning. It's at the tip of the My RV's on the road. I'm gonna kidnap you, and then we're gonna kidnap Lana.
We gotta get Cody.
Oh, Cody's
and his
already-
girlfriend.
Cody's gotta
Yeah.
come.
Don't worry, Cody and your girlfriend. We got a spare bed for you guys.
Yes, everybody stop packing the emergency bags, because you never know when Awakening the Unknown Girls are gonna just show up and come on through and
We'll just. What are you
Pick it
doing?
right
I
up.
told you we were gonna kidnap you. So,
Absolutely.
We'll be the paranormal dream team.
Aw. Wouldn't that be amazing? We definitely would.
well, it works out perfectly because I like filming.
Yeah.
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 And Cody's a made all the equipment.
Audio. Oh my God.
And I
Such
never shut
audio
up.
with him. Yeah. You never
And
stop.
so, and Carl doesn't even know, so he can find at least a couple demons I can argue with. So I have enough
Right.
copies to get out of me, you know what I mean?
Oh my God.
Well, I'll tell you about the 23rd of August, just briefly. As you cited, it's the anniversary of Edward's passing, rest in peace.
Yeah.
And it is my niece's birthday. She turns 38 today.
Oh, happy birthday.
It's
Say
the
happy birthday to
anniversary
her.
of the first. Oh yes, the first EVP I ever recorded, electronic voice phenomenon, an example of EVP.
That was the one in your basement,
I
right?
didn't know about spirit voices being recorded. Knew nothing about that, and a message came out on a cassette recorder. I was recording. And
That's the one in your basement,
strangest
right?
Message came out. Yeah, and it says, "Carl, help me,
Yep.
help."
Oh, my.
Yeah.
And interestingly, we had to speed it up to decipher it. We had to speed up the recording. A friend of mine and we that was just incidental, you know.
Wow, it's
So
amazing. You
yeah,
remember, like, it's so significant
Yeah, that's when.
that you remember
Yeah.
that, Carl. After all these years, you remember your very first
It hasn't been that
EVP.
long.
No, but you remember your
No,
very
he
first
just got out of
EVP?
college 2 weeks ago.
I don't remember
Don't you know that?
I don't remember when I lost my virginity. Never.
Okay,
But I mean, it's amazing.
I
to
was
know.
going to say something about you. I was going to say something about your first kiss, but you took it to the next level. So.
Yeah, okay,
I think
yeah.
I was
All
reading
right,
my mind a little
well,
bit.
that's a topic for another
Oh,
show.
not even. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, that would be a full show. That is 2 hours. Yeah.
Well, you know,
Next time.
I'm a psychologist, so I could do a show like that helping people out.
See,
Why
wouldn't
not?
that be epic?
Why not?
I find I find it really amazing that after all these years, that moment was still so significant in your life that you still remember that. And how amazing is it related to Ed Warren's death anniversary? How
Right.
can you forget it?
Yeah.
You know, and then not
I know.
even his niece's birthday. So that's a really epic, remarkable thing to come happen on that day. It's really great. It really is.
Huh.
I think that's pretty cool.
I think so too. So you've had it. You had the recordings that you did.
National Day. It's a day of synchronicity.
Right. Exactly. Synchronicity. Yep. That was from another guest. We've noticed
But
that.
that's really basically how I became involved first in paranormal investigation and then in specializing as a demonologist. And by that I mean I address some of the more malevolent sounding situations that are brought to my attention that have paranormal leanings.
So can you explain?
Like, a group. You go on.
Sorry. Can you explain the difference between a demonic haunting or a regular type of haunting? Because we have ghosts.
It
spirits,
can be
and-
hard, yeah.
Right.
It can be hard to differentiate between the two. One can lead to another, but there are indications that it's something more malevolent, something heavier, something inhuman, demonic, and indications of that. Well, let's start with a human-generated haunting.
Okay.
They can be wicked. They can be scary and exasperating, but generally it's repetitive. Something keeps playing it out, and an apparition, a ghost, can be seen and move things about, but really it's not something that would normally threaten to drive people from their home.
Right.
But the demonic haunt can even start out seeming like a human haunt. And it generally centers around the child. Not always, but generally. And the child will see a figure, and that figure comes to them at different times when the parents are around. And there's always something different about that figure they see. It's a man or a woman, but when it looks at them, it doesn't have eyes. The eyes are missing. And it smiles in a nasty way. I mean, it starts out friendly. They may call it their friend. And then something happens to scare the child.
Yep.
The smile becomes evil, starts threatening them, saying bad things. And eventually the parents start to glimpse it. They start to see this thing. And when it's a demonic haunt, generally heavier objects are moved about, like a bookcase or an armoire, a table, things that normally a human spirit wouldn't move. Something propels an invisible force propels heavier objects. Also, there would be foul odors associated with it, like the odor, the sense of death.
Right.
Something very unpleasant and ominous, and scratches, abrasions on people's skin appear.
Very
They're
much so.
inflicted.
Now-
Those are signs that it might be a demonic haunt, and there's always a threatening element, as I mentioned. They'll hear a voice.
Now, if somebody was, say,
or something.
yeah, I was curious about, say if somebody was not so nice in life would be the easiest way to
Like
put it.
a mean,
It could
cranky
be-
person.
Right, yeah, if they were mean, cranky, dumb butt, and try to be nice, yeah. So if they had all these things going on in life, they take that with them when they pass. Is it possible maybe sometimes some things that people are considered maybe demonic is maybe leftover remnants of an individual's energy because that's where they passed? Could that also be similar?
There is this theory that the basic elements of human nature can take on a life of their own and supersede the person's death. And maybe some of those basic elements attract lower elementals, like, let's say, minions, lower order
Lower
spirits,
demons and things
and
like
human
that.
spirits. And yes, like attracts like.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes, it can either call in demonic entities or maybe even devolve into a demonic entity.
Wow.
Surrounding oneself with negativity can carry on over into death. And maybe it's not the whole of the person's spirit, but the anger, the envy, the hate kind of remains. It makes an impression in the ether, the atmosphere around, and that can go on. And it opens up something of a portal to the demonic realm. And
Right.
demons can usher in through that. So there's a connection there. That's a theory.
Right.
Anyway, it makes sense.
It's so funny, though. I just had to mention this, that way prior to the book actually being completed, how excited we were at the time, even talking about this book. 6 months ago, even, and I was like, it's finally here, the Handbook of Demonology.
Yes.
And it's like, how epic, because we've recommended your show throughout the globe, thousands of times now. The Shadow Realms Demonology Handbook.
Right. Definitely before it actually came out.
Yes.
Because what people need to know is before they decide to get into this,
Mhm.
there's one thing in particular that they need to know. Is the study of demonology dangerous to the individuals studying it?
Oh, quite definitely it can be. It has potential to be dangerous. It depends, of course, on how it's approached. And while we're not dealing with the same, disciplines, police work can be dangerous.
Exactly.
It depends on somebody approaches it. Hopefully, in training, people decide if they're going to, pursue law enforcement. The same with demonology. If people learn more about it, they'll know if it's for them or not.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody's hoping it's going to be dramatic, like demonology is going to be contain opening up the world to thrills, then that would be a bad approach to that discipline.
Right. So for
Because
people,
it's not really a thrilling or exciting. It has its moments, of course,
right.
but as with any paranormal investigation, a lot of that is reviewing evidence and waiting for something. You've got a the voice and put it on an audio recorder. Suddenly showed up in your filming, your pictures, and it's a lot of it's just tedium.
Right. It's
And
not
you have to
people
deal
make it
with
out to be all
people
the time.
occasionally who have problems that they won't resolve. You may be able to help it, not, essentially resolve that problem.
Right,
So it's not a glamorous field to get into.
And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. Like, you're not fighting demons all the time just because you happen to be a demonologist. I mean, you go into houses and you yourself have to make the determination also with your own criteria, which happens to be in the demonology handbook, everybody, the proper criteria into deciding and determining whether it is something that's worth an exorcism or not. It's all in his book, guys.
So you have to buy it.
Yes.
Yes, you will have. I'm going to get the link for that right
Yes.
now.
And
This
it's
is
really-
like, Michelle is extremely connected to this because she currently is in the process of studying the facts of cleaning the houses because this is where it's actually going to bring up some issues with religion. Now, I am not Catholic or Christian in any way. I'm Native American. That's just part of who I am and, a little bit of Celt. But when we do house cleansing, Michelle takes charge because I find, at least in my case, and I wanted to know your opinion, that the demons or negative energies or any type of negativity that actually needs the house, they actually respond more to religious provocation, especially in a clearing. Do you know why that is, or what would your opinion on that be?
Am I doing something right, Carl?
Because we have, because when somebody provokes with religious provocation, that doesn't mean they're swearing at the spirit or the demon or even commanding it to leave at that stage.
Right.
If they start to use the enforcement of prayer, then they do so with a very forthright attitude. And that's intimidating to a demon because right away they show that they could be banished and they want to keep their hold on a person or a place. So, and there is something that is unknown about religious provocation, why it works, why it succeeds. Because these are powerful names and concepts that one is invoking when they use prayer. They're not relying on their own inward strength. Hopefully they do have inner strength, when they are going into a haunted setting, especially demonic haunts. But they're relying on a higher power, not their own. So somebody has a certain confidence in that.
Right. I mean,
And
that's a big
the
part of
names
it,
are
too,
strong. The names are
right?
powerful. The names, yeah.
Having that sense of
When you
confidence.
invoke the holy name of Jesus, and that has a resonance to it, to be sure. Also, sometimes there are Latin prayers,
Yes.
and Latin it's a dead language, meaning it's not, commonly spoken. It's an ancient language, and by ancient I mean certainly thousands of years old now. And it's a little different in its present form, but Latin is recognized by the demon as an ancient language, and and demons have been around for a long time. We don't know how long, but from creation,
that could definitely make a lot of
from the
sense.
fall from heaven. So they were scared of Latin. It obsessed them.
Especially if I spoke Latin, I'd have a Portuguese accent to go along with it. They might have a hard time understanding where I'm going.
Right.
I
Yeah,
only speak English, so I don't have a prayer there.
And they'll be like, "Oh, did she say bring the chorizo or get the heck out of here?" I don't know.
You
But
Michelle Medeiros name.
right.
But
I
I haven't been cussed out by a woman in Portuguese yet, so I can imagine it's kind of intimidating.
It's very loud, too.
Yes. So
I actually just hold her coffee so she doesn't spell it. Let her do her thing.
Yeah.
What are friends for?
Right. I mean, Carl, you're right. I mean, dead or alive, there's no arguing with a Portuguese woman.
Or Irish.
Oh, absolutely not.
Or Indian.
This is the whole European
Damn,
thing
I'm
about
One
it.
thing you're not likely to get a word in.
Oh, I mean,
Kind of like our show sometimes.
yeah, I know, right?
But
Yeah.
it's just that I came upon one section of the book, And I was just so fascinated with it, I forgot to take notes. But as you were reading, you were
I can
comparing.
copy the book with me if you want. And
Yeah, you were talking about Nephilims, and as far as their in the book of Enos, and I wanted to touch base a little bit as far as Nephilims, because we're going back into many different theories as far as whether or not the skeletons that they found that are larger are actually alien or something from an ancient race, and or was the Nephilims actually part angel or part
demon?
Yeah, part demon. It's a very fascinating topic to me, and yeah, you know the
It is fascinating.
Very
This
fascinating.
is where archaeology and paleontology meld with demonology. And it does tie into demonology in a very real way.
Wow,
Yeah.
guys,
I
guess
wish
why?
Arnold would call
Paranormal
it the old
science.
co-author,
Yes. I'm
because
sorry. go
Anna
ahead.
has been reading the books of Enoch, the 3 sections of the book of Enoch.
Oh.
But it is thought that a celestial race, if you will, these angels,
Right.
that's one way to interpret it. And Nephilim means fallen ones. And Nephilim is plural, Nephil, and that means to fall or fallen.
Right.
And it is thought that angels found and this is supported biblically, but in a murky kind of vague sense, that angels found the daughters of men fair and mated with them, took them unto themselves. And the myth or legend is that this produced a race of giants. And these are the mighty men, the men of renown,
Right.
whom many tales are told.
The Titans,
And,
supposedly, right?
So what do you mean by mighty men? These are giants. And it says there were giants in the earth in those days. Now, tying into beyond faith and biblical scripture, the graves of an ancient race, because there were enough of them, of giants have been uncovered, excavated. When I say giants, I mean they're Titanic proportions. They're 8 feet,
8 to
9
9
feet
feet.
tall.
Yeah.
Now there just shouldn't have been people that tall, except for, like
I'm even more
gigantism,
jealous.
a rare example of that in there.
That's so upsetting. I'm barely 5'2" in a good day.
Yes, but these could it's a combination. I mean, when they pulled up the skeletals, and this is the part that's fascinating. Did they pull up? What did it look like? Human remains, or was it
Alien.
something extraterrestrial, or did it look more angelic? And that's the part that I'm just like, I gotta find out. I'm very fascinated by this.
Well, they're just giant-sized human skeletons, but to my knowledge, a reconstruction of their facial features, of their physiognomies, has not been done. I would like to see that.
Yeah, I
because
would
they
too.
seem to have massive jaws and extra teeth,
Yeah.
and they're just, like imposing-looking figures, even skeletons.
interesting.
And they are found to have, some of them still have hair on them, some of them are partially mummified.
Wow,
They have
that is
long,
awesome.
reddish hair. They have red hair.
Wow.
I don't know if that was part of the preservation process, that their hair became red, but they're red-haired giants. If you do a Google search, you can find numerous sites on the internet that talk about the red-haired giant. I mean, it will lead you to some sites containing information about the red-haired giants.
Mm-hmm.
They've been excavated, and they've been found in many diverse parts of the earth. So there's something going on. I mean, you can't, it can be disputed, but really futile to do so, because there is solid evidence, empirical evidence, that there were giants in the earth
Yeah.
in those days.
Yes.
I don't see too many people 8 feet tall.
No.
And I've never seen it. I've seen people that are over 7 feet tall, but just to imagine somebody a foot taller than that.
I've seen
but
the only people I've
a
ever
tribe of
seen
these
so
people.
big is wrestlers, like really big, like
Yeah.
back in the day.
But didn't they
like
compare him
Andre
to like a
Giant.
cyclops because they were mainly focused with one eye? That's how they seen things, or am I mixing up two different readings?
Yeah, that's a cyclop. That's the Greek cyclopean.
No, I wasn't sure if I read that in your book or something else that I started. So
The story, Homer's, the Odyssey, the saga of Odysseus. Yeah,
Oh,
Grecian,
yes.
All right.
ancient Grecian.
Yeah.
That's the chronicles that document or tell the story of Odysseus' travels and being lost, thrown off course in the ship, and they came to an island where there were three Cyclopean brothers,
Right.
Okay.
and they were the
You had
sons
to
of Neptune. And
defeat one by one at the time.
I relegate that to pure myth. I don't like to say that something is outright impossible, but I don't.
Yeah, I'm confused
Oh, I
with two
think
different
that-
readings. I'm so
I-
sorry.
Yeah.
I do readings and I take notes, and
Sure,
then
sure.
my brain just can't process
You should
which one
see
I'm on.
when Carl and I start talking Edgar Allan Poe stuff. Forget it. Yeah, Odysseus.
Oh, that, yeah.
We love Edgar Allan Poe. It's great. But I mean, the new book. Can you tell me, Carl, what you think is one of the most maybe the newest piece of information that's getting out of there in the book, as far as the demonology handbook aspect of it? What's something that's getting out there in the book that maybe is a very little known fact for everyone?
Well, it tells about, and both Lana and I delved into this, we espouse the merits and the detractions of skepticism. Like, to a lot of paranormal investigators and enthusiasts, skeptic is a bad word, but a healthy dose of objectivity is, I think, essential to paranormal research. You can't just take everything at face value. But some people are like compulsive. It's like, they want to take that stand. They want to be known as disbelievers. You kind of discipline balance both the subjectivity and objectivity. And so that's talked about in the book. There I have a chapter that I wrote. Lana wrote much of it. By the way, my original intent with the book I was writing is I thought it'd be a nice gesture to have Lana, my co-author, my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she's listening in now. Hopefully she will at
No,
some point.
Lana,
But it was my intention. I thought it would be a nice gesture to have her maybe write an introduction. The introduction is actually authored by my friend and colleague, Tom D'Agostino.
Oh.
But I said Lana write the intro, and maybe she'll write an article for it, and contribute to a chapter. Lana is such a prolific writer, and Lana is an accredited theologian.
Right.
And a demonologist now. Lana wrote about half the book. I wrote a little more of it is my writing.
Well, I think if fair was fair, all of my questions are based on chapters you wrote. So then I thought maybe we could call her and question her on the chapters she wrote. See? Double the publicity.
That's right.
Well, then let's talk just about me and my writings.
But our common friend, Cody Ray,
Answer Simon.
Yeah.
Carl, Cody Ray has a question for you in our chat room. And
okay, I'll point to that.
yeah, he wants to know, Carl, how you feel about the sudden uprise of people calling themselves demonologists. He's really curious about your opinion on that.
Are you there?
Yes, we're here.
We might have gotten. Oh yeah, we might have had a little glitch on the phone disconnected. If that happens, of course, I'll call you right back.
Yes.
But yeah, there does seem to be. I'm actually surprised that so many people are referring to themselves as demonologists now. It seems to be on the upswing. There's a certain people perceive a certain glamour to it, and they may feel that paranormal investigation, just being a paranormal investigator is passe, and it's more dramatic to be a demonologist. You might find some more fascinating and dangerous situations.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and some people I'm not saying that everybody's a rube who gets into demonology or starts to. Some people do approach it quite sincerely.
Truly.
Yes, truly.
Well, yeah, I think it's because there's more literature on it. Also, it's portrayed more in motion pictures and popular media. And people tend to sit up and take notice when you say demonologist. That's fine, as long as it's not me doing it. I'd like to see what you guys do. You're a demonologist, I'm not going in there, but show me what you got.
Little do they know, though, you and technically, if you climb the family tree of all these horror movies, all tend to lead back to you and Keith. With The Conjuring, with the whole nine yards.
Thank you.
It's true, and it's a very little known fact. It all began with you and your brother Carl. I mean, you and your brother Keith. From the beginning, I mean, you already had a relationship already going with the Warrens prior to all these epic situations happening.
We did, yes.
Yes.
You know? So there's so much more out there that people don't realize. I mean, you were a demonologist before anybody even knew what a demonologist was.
Speaking of that,
I will concur with that, yes.
I'm glad you concur. Thank you.
yes. Speaking of that, for the people out there that are listening that don't exactly know what a demonologist is or does, can you give a short description or a definition to it? At least in your opinion.
Yes, we handle the more menacing situations that have paranormal meanings that are brought our way. You know, if it has an inhuman aura to it. You know, if things seem really unsettled and it's a dangerous haunt, that is considered demonic. And again, it's kind of tricky to define where it becomes an actual demonic haunt. And that's why we're called it. When it's something heavy, something dangerous, something inhuman, again, I say, then the demonologist is consulted. And the demonologist has studied the lore and case histories of demon attacks, demon infestations. Yeah. And by the way, we met Ed and Lorraine Warren in April of 1972, so it goes back a ways. Not May. Keith would correct me. He's the May 1972.
And Cody, I don't know if he's correcting you. Cody, I don't know if he's correcting you on
What is
something.
Cody saying?
He's saying something about 1973 also being the first time that you visited the parents. 1973.
No, that was the first time I visited Cody Ray Desbian.
No, Cody wants to know if.
No, I'm kidding. Of course, that could not
1973
be.
that you first visited the parents.
But I bet if we asked you what was the first date that you remember meeting Cody Ray, I bet you know what it is too.
When I met Cody Ray, yes, I do. I don't remember the exact date, but it was in spring, and it was the first Ocean State Paracon. So that brings us back to, I guess, 2010.
Wow.
And or was it 2009? I think 2000. Let me see, 2009, maybe 2010, and that's when they used to hold the event at St. Anne's Church and Arts Center in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, and had the first two Ocean State Paracon events organized by Ken DaCosta, and always Cody Ray has been present there, helping to organize, making it happen, actually. And that was back in 2010, the first two there.
And I love the fact that just we had that great time when we went to the Slater Mill.
Yeah, we did.
Such a fun time investigating that time. We've definitely
I'm more in the background type people. It's the empath in me. I kind of have to readjust with new energy from time to time. So I let her take the lead. She likes that. So I'm used to doing the filming anyway. So she has fun.
Somebody's got to do. Well, that's very important because you're documenting, so we're not just going on memory.
Yes.
Yes,
definitely.
Yeah, she's got all the important technical stuff that I have to ask her, how do you turn this on for everything? She's like, you just flip the switch. Oh, okay.
Hey, well, I'll tell you something. Going back 45 years now to 1973, conditions were different. And 72, conditions were different then. Nobody was saying. I mean, you'd find the word paranormal in literature,
right?
But people just weren't saying paranormal. It was parapsychology back then. I'm a parapsychologist, We're a parapsychological group. People weren't saying paranormal, except it more have been an adverb. But also, when I met the Warrens, in the first year I knew the Warrens, they were not demonologists. Well, Lorraine was the clairvoyant. Ed was the lay demonologist, the only lay demonologist who was embraced by the the Catholic Church.
Right.
Yeah.
But, but in 1972 and into 1973, and all their career before then, which goes back to the early 1950s, Ed and Lorraine billed themselves as the ghost hunters. Well, they didn't say ghost hunters, the ghost hunting couple.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they were. They were ghost hunting couple, and they were parapsychology investigators.
Mm-hmm.
That's what their poster said. That's what their card said.
Right.
That's how they were introduced.
Wow.
Ed Warren, and I remember this because I was around, Ed Warren became a demonologist in December 1973,
Wow.
concurrent with the release of the movie The Exorcist. And then, from then on, Ed Warren was the demonologist.
See?
Title of one of the
Dun, dun,
books. I believe the
dun.
first book. The
All
Demonologist.
these horror movies that everyone in the universe are fans of all come back
Well,
to
yeah,
Carl.
because see, television
It's
and what's
great.
going on actually affects how people actually perceive it, whether it's real life TV or horror movies like Dracula.
Right, right.
You know, and all those, Van Helsing, that's the movie that you
Oh,
mentioned
yes,
in your book was Van Helsing, which I happen to love that movie. And all the little gargoyles are flying out because that's supposedly the spawn of his wife's.
Right. But I mean,
You know?
in your opinion,
Yeah.
Carl, and I think you were talking about this in your book about how people automatically portray demons as being they think of demons as being this really grotesque figure and this ugly thing with horns and, it's giant claws and all that. And people don't realize that actual demons can actually take the form of your most innocent person that you even could possibly know. A child,
Exactly.
an animal,
At
your
least
best
initially
friend.
they can. Yeah, they don't stay innocent looking very long.
No.
But they can introduce themselves like that.
But that's like
Yeah,
one
they-
thing people don't really are
They
familiar
can't
with.
seem to hide their evil aspect for long. They morph into something more hideous with time. And usually early on when they're detected. But and I think that's something in our minds that makes them look like that, or perceives them like that,
Right.
because something in our even our subconscious and in our spirits warns us about these things, wants us to stay away. And that may be how they really appear. It's not how they originally looked.
Mhm.
If angels even had bodies, so to speak, they were angels of light originally.
Well, they
But there are
were,
different theories. Some people say they are the spirits, maybe one echelon of the demonic realm. Maybe they are the spirits of Nephilim. That's possible. At least in theory.
wow.
Oh, and I also wanted to say, I don't mean to denigrate people that are pursuing demonology as an interest and a discipline. It's a very worthwhile pursuit, I think. And people are quite sincere about that. Maybe too many people are getting into it, jumping onto this. But as long as they do so cautiously and with preparation and with
Exactly.
and that's why the
By the
Shadow
Shadow
of
Realm
Demonology Handbook.
book.
Yeah.
How can
It's
anybody
not
go
the definitive
forward
work
from now
on demonology. They were demonologists before Ed Warren, like they were clerical demonologists. But
Yes.
they weren't usually known as such.
For the
The Roman Catholic
Roman
Church.
Catholic, yes.
Study of demonic lore and traditions
Wow.
and case histories.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, this is only the tip of the iceberg. I mean, you guys have to go back and listen to our very first episode with Carl and find out all the beginning of the nitty gritty and us literally getting the beginning pretty much of the putting together of this book.
Exactly.
Because, we have been waiting so anxiously for this book to come out, and we've been recommending it. to
Yeah,
everyone.
it's almost been, wait a minute,
Almost a year.
September 13th will be a year that we've been doing
Exactly.
radio. Wow.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. So don't forget, I want you guys to purchase Shadow Realms Demonology Handbook. Go to Amazon.com. Remember, it's Shadow Realms Demonology Handbook. Go to Amazon. Pick up your copy. Is it available in any local bookstores?
It is. It is also available at and through Barnes & Noble Bookseller Store. If you don't find it on the shelf, they can order it, and it'll probably expedite the process, if you actually go to a store and order it then. But, of course, you can get it through Amazon.com. and it's available for those two primary sources. If it's in any other bookstores, I'm not aware of it.
And everybody,
And
guess
it will
what?
soon be on
It's
cable.
finally here. The handbook is here.
You were talking about this on our first show.
I'm telling you, I've been so excited with this coming out because a lot of the newer demonologists, and even back in the day when things started out, and Carl knows this, it was an unknown thing. People were frustrated. They really didn't know how to go about this. Now you got to fast forward from the epicenter of demonology, right? Fast forward to now, and here it is, guys. Here it is, in black and white, the Shadow Realms Demonology Handbook. You cannot go wrong. The advice, the way to handle things, take it step by step. Learn from Carl and Keith. It's there.
Carl and Lana.
And not to mention
Keith
Keith's wife too.
frequent mention in the book.
Yes.
I mean, it was a group effort, and I appreciate that it's finally here. I'm so excited.
Keith certainly had his input.
Oh, of course. And you guys started out doing this together when you were the trial and errors. You were the fine tuning.
Yeah, well, I made a lot of errors, along the way.
Which helped.
And again, it's not the definitive work. I don't consider it a scholarly work on demonology, but it has value in that it presents my own perspective, Lana's perspective. What we have run into, what we have experienced. Testimonies we've received from others. So it's like, hey, down in the trenches, this is what we found.
Right.
This is our
Exactly.
experience.
Right.
It's also
maybe you'll benefit from some of it.
right. It's also the honesty and the purity of the book that I like too.
I'm so excited.
You literally pull no punches. You lay everything on the line. This is who I was.
Yes,
This is how I got there. This is where I am now, and that's what I like about that.
Yes,
Because
yes.
in life, everybody has a past. It's not your past. It's who you are today
Right.
that actually makes you such a better person. And
Oh,
that's I just love the way
it's almost
you write.
self-deprecating because I do present it honestly, and I say some of my foibles of the past. And it's not a book about me, but it's about a book by me and Lana.
Exactly.
So I am very revealing in it.
Yeah, because your life has been in the paranormal field, and it basically takes you through where you're going, and then all the rest of the information, which we're not going to tell everybody all the information. You got to buy the book. But we're actually getting ready for the top of the hour. We're getting very close to taking a commercial break,
Ready?
a pause for the cause to pay the sponsors. But I literally still have about 15 questions here, so. And she's got 2 sheets
Oh,
worth.
good. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to
We
keep
haven't
up.
even
So,
touched
you
bases on anything yet.
This is all Carl all the time. This is all Carl all the
Alright,
time.
you.
so if you want to stick with us, we're going to take about a 5-minute break. I have a couple of sponsor ads that I do have to play. So stay right with us, Carl. We will be right back. And let's see. We will see you in a couple. Stay right here. We're going to take a short break.
Don't go anywhere.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Riff Network here in Blog Talk Radio to receive the latest podcasts from our shows. Want more? Follow us on Facebook and our YouTube channel. Become a cosmic traveler here on the Rift.
At this time, the Rift Radio Network would like to recognize its sponsors. The Skeleton King, Beyond Earth Healing, The Insurance Doctor, Divine Magic and Novelties, Awakening Spirits and Productions, and Glassworks Gallery. Thank you for our sponsors and to all those who support the network. We'll be right back with more of Awakening the Unknown after a quick message from our sponsor. This episode has been brought to you by Crystal Expectations. Crystal Expectations is located at 854 Brock Ave in New Bedford, Massachusetts. They're all located on the web at crystalexpectations.com. CrystalExpectations.org. Crystal Expectations has been in the business for 30 years. The owner, TJ Gomes, is an expert on crystals, feng shui, and a practitioner for 40 years. Their reader, Dr. Gary Gomes, is a well-known Vedic astrologer and Swami. Both are Reiki masters, and all kinds of predictive services are offered, such as love, career, and health. And low-cost remedies are provided. They have jewelry and statues of deities from all religions, incense, candles, books, and other items reasonably priced. So visit Crystal Expectations, located at 854 Brock Ave in Bedford, Massachusetts, or on the web at crystalexpectations.org.
As always, I want to thank Cody Ray for our voiceovers. Definitely, you got to redo this and tag yourself at the end. I'm telling you, got to give yourself some credit and some plugs there. Wonderful voiceovers done by Cody Ray. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yes, I never pronounce his last name right. I always say Tobias. I don't know why. Despians. So Cody Ray Despians. Look him up.
I think it's French.
Yes, he's well. La Violetta is too, but at least I don't know. I think I need new glasses over here. So that and my little blanket I have on my lap tonight. Oh, so hey, I'm still here. That's all that matters. My voice might leave towards the end of the show, but no worries. We're going to make it through the show. So, yeah, definitely. Cody Ray, definitely redo this and give yourself a plug. You got to plug yourself on because you're definitely worth it, helping us out, and you're such a sweetheart. But before we go back to Carl, I wanted to make a small announcement. We have so much going on right now.
Yes, we do.
So we wanted to say the ATU Girls Network, the page has been renamed.
Yes.
Now ATU Network, we are going into production with Comcast Cable.
Yes, we
because
are.
they've requested actually more shows from us. So we decided to get a new team together. Now, Michelle is definitely the seasoned investigator, and that's her strong suit. Now, I have always been the lead psychic investigator and the videographer. So
her strong suit.
So that's where we decided to go. Michelle is going to take care of getting the team where they need to go. I'll take care of the video, and I will be working with. But I actually have camera people helping me.
I have brought you a production team ready to rock and roll.
So instead of ATU
girls,
girls, because I think our junior investigator, who's the guy?
we have guess what? We have a junior investigator on our team.
Yep, he's been investigating since he was, 10 now?
Oh, goodness.
But he's my son, and he kind of grew up with this stuff, so...
And he's going to help me be an example to next year's class of boys at Trinity.
He's actually taking the class at Cable Access.
Yes.
To learn as much as he can, so we wanted to let you know that. And then future down the line, we're going to have another announcement, so definitely stay tuned to Awakening the Unknown and ATU Girls, because you just never know what we're up to.
Never!
We're always up to something. Cody Ray is actually going to be featured in one of our shows.
Coming up very soon.
Gonna have to check out his new gear. Deb Vickers, yep, now that we've got everything set up. Just as soon as it starts to cool down, we got to get them down, do some filming with them as well.
Yep.
But we just want to go out a couple times with our crew, get them used to the routine and things. But what a great group. What a great group.
Oh, I am so excited. Every single one of the new production team members have been doing fantastic. They're excited. They're learning.
Yep.
They're really, really getting into all the gist of that, right? All of the stuff. But yet, they have yet to learn the actual paranormal investigative stuff, the way to use that equipment to do what we do.
Well,
that's
plus all of the extra equipment that I have as well.
Exactly, and that's coming up.
Let's go back with Carl, because, his book, don't forget, Shadow Realms.
Oh, FYI, my investigators, our production team, will be learning about the demonology from the Shadow Realms Demonology Handbook, by the way.
Yeah, it's their Bible. They have to read it.
It's part of their Bible.
So we're gonna get Carl back on the air with us right now. Now that I have my little drink going on here, maybe my voice will clear up a little more. How you doing there, Carl?
That's why I'm all business today. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's all business.
Well,
cowgirl.
She's in the kick butt hat.
yeah.
I'm all business all the time.
Well, don't worry about your voice, Michelle. You have a smoky voice.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
very
not
much.
me. I got that rough and tumble voice. I think the cowgirl hat kind of fits. So.
It does fit.
Well, yes, Susan has kind of that Kim Carnes voice,
I don't know who that is.
You don't know who Kim Carnes is? Oh,
I don't watch TV.
I'm writing that down for you to Google after the show.
Okay, I don't watch TV, so that's okay.
Remember, I've been recalling items from 1973, so I would be familiar with,
With an impeccable memory.
these
by the way.
vintage singers.
Ah.
Oh, by the way, Cody Ray's last name is pronounced Davion.
Davion.
See,
Thank
the
you.
S's are silent, and it's Davion.
We're both
You gotta
wrong.
have to put that accent to it.
I'm European, not French.
Oh, I'm just saying that,
Well, that's why I usually just say
I
Cody
kind
Ray.
of think it's nice. If he was
Look at his name all the
if he
time.
was in Brussels, it would be Davion.
Davion.
Davion. How
Well, I have a La Violette. In my
French.
background, that's French, but that was my mom.
I like French toast.
Yeah.
French toast is good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that
you
qualifies
like
you.
French toast? There you go. So like I
Do
said,
demons like French toast?
I don't know.
Do demons have a sweet
Is that a euphemism or what?
I don't know what is she's going with this. I think she's getting super
Did you say
silly.
that at a bar? You like French toast? I'm into
Right?
French toast.
Are you digging some French toast? Oh,
Yeah.
Now that'd be one funny pickup line.
Yeah, you like French toast. Am I going to be shot for saying no?
No, you gotta say, do you like the French toast?
Because we read you.
Is that
Do you like the French toast?
Do you like a French toast?
My name is Davion, and I like the French toast.
Cody, we love you. We're just having fun. I swear to God, we love you. You're amazing. I can't wait to investigate with you and your girlfriend, but you are an amazing individual.
We have so much upcoming, Carl, and we are going to kidnap you at some point, by the way. You and Lana. Soon as she's in Rhode Island, going to get you. Going to
Wait,
get you
I got a
guys.
better idea.
What?
We can bring them down in the studio.
What's your better idea?
And have a much better idea. You and Lana can go down into the studio, and we can do a live taping review of your book. Get it out on the cable channels for you.
Right? Because we are on every Friday at 7:30. Everyone on Comcast,
Yeah.
Xfinity, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Twitch, Tweet,
Tune in.
TuneIn, and etc. and etc. and etc.
All right, let's get back into this now.
Cody's all cracked.
Oh, that's it. He's dying. He's cracking
dying.
up. You know, we do
got him
take
there.
we do take what we do very seriously, but in life, you've got to laugh. Life is too short to be serious all the time.
And you know what the best part of this, what you're saying is?
Yes.
Is that what we do, people think should be a negativity all the time.
Oh, heck no.
No, it's the opposite.
We can find amusement
Positivity
in
all
anything.
The time. The more positive you are doing what we're doing, the better. The more
Exactly.
confident, the more actually more, I don't say the word threatening, but more threatening you appear to, the demons, because you're positive, you're confident, you're trusting yourself. They don't want to see things like that. They want to see low self-esteem. They want to see you haggard, depressed,
That
dark,
brings up a
sleeplessness.
point in the book. What makes individual people, certain people, targets?
more successful to that.
Yes. What makes them targets? More susceptible to demonic activity.
And not my cooking, by the way.
No, she's a good cook. I'm the baker. But that's besides the point.
Just have to add my 2 cents in there.
Yeah. Did we lose you?
You still with us, Carl?
No, I'm here. Yeah, no, I'm here. Was that an actual question? What makes people,
Yes.
what type of person or personality would be more prone to demonic assault?
Yes.
Yeah.
Generally, somebody who, well, it would start with an introspective person, like a more withdrawn type of personality. I think that's actually a good trait to, be capable of examining oneself, introspection. But if somebody gets more withdrawn, antisocial, if they're going through a depression, that person would be more prone toward otherworldly, inhuman, demonic assault. Now, there should be a law against it. If somebody suffers from bipolarism or, a psychological malady, there should be some rule against that person being assaulted by demons, but apparently there isn't.
No.
Children can be, but they generally will grow out of it, they build up their defenses. And people who are going through a trauma or depression tend to be more prone to this. Usually their issue is resolved with time and the change of circumstance. And if somebody has been experimenting with occult practices, that doesn't mean just because somebody uses a Ouija board they're going to necessarily become possessed. But if somebody's doing that when they're in a state of agitation or depression, that's ill-advised because they're opening up themselves further to assault.
Exactly.
And another criteria for that is somebody, if they believe they can be possessed or oppressed by a demonic entity, they're more vulnerable. A lot of persons don't believe that can happen, and strangely, they're more, I don't know if I want to say immune, but they're more protected against it. But somebody who has a belief and embraces the possibility of demonic oppression or demonic assault, let's say, and is going through some kind of trauma or unresolved conflicts in their life, they are more prone to it.
Right.
Because they've established a belief that this can happen, they're susceptible, and the mind actually plays a trick on them. Where, sometimes the thought of a demonic entity is a form of projection, that person actually imposes the demonic personage onto their issues, their unresolved conflicts, and sometimes it's easier to blame the demon than it is to their own issues in life. But that can result in genuine oppression and sometimes possession. So people are going through a trauma. People are, there's something unanswered in their lives, some loneliness and profound loss. And if they've been talking to spirits, like some people will talk to themselves, I find that quite comforting.
I talk to myself all the time.
Yeah, I do too.
In fact,
voices in my head.
I talk to my cats.
Yeah, I had one radio Skype interview where I didn't know the phone had disconnected for 10 minutes, and I was having a great time talking to myself. I answered a question very thoroughly, but nobody heard it except me. But, now I know what it's like to be a spirit. I felt like I was Patrick Swayze in Ghost for a while.
Ghost Whisperer.
Yeah, I was a whisperer, yeah. And it's like, hello.
No
And then I'm talking and my phone rings, and it's how come my phone's ringing? I can't take the phone out, and I'm on the radio. They probably watch you, man, for a while, But that does happen,
I would totally do that. That's hilarious.
Okay, I'm dying.
All
right.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I approached my book with some, I wrote the book with, I try to interject some measure of levity into it. I try to make some of it fun or funny. Now, demonology is not a subject that's a lot of fun. It's not a fun application. But I do throw some humor in because I have to, because otherwise it would be too heavy a subject. And I don't think people would find it interesting if it didn't have some human element to it, like some kind of, fun every once in a while.
Do you put a little disclaimer at the end of the book, like we talked about a year ago about making sure that do not investigate or, take this book on an actual investigation while a clean pair of underwear, just in case something happens?
Well, little provisos like that are strewn throughout the book, not just towards the end. I do have a summation at the end, but, there are cautionings all through it. My the best intent for this book is that people will bring it onto, paranormal investigation sites and have it as part of their repertoire. So, they've got it packed in their briefcase or their satchel or, they've got it someplace. And maybe they can pull that out and thumb through and find something of value, of use.
Exactly.
Because I'm going on my own, and Lana is going to her personal experiences, soirees into demonic haunts and being present for these things.
Right.
And what you might encounter, and even more intimidating is, what you don't expect to encounter, because there's always the unexpected. It's a possibility, a probability, demonology. So I'm hoping people actually have that tact.
Oh, yeah.
We actually have
beforehand, but have it with them.
We've been preaching that.
I have a huge briefcase that we call our traveling Bible.
Yeah, the 18
Literally,
Bible.
it's our Bible because I don't know if you can see. It's probably about a foot wide. And that's where we carry everything of importance because you never know when you're going to need reference material.
Holy water in the cross.
Yeah, holy water, crosses, everything. By crystal.
Yes.
Everything.
But you might find something in there that's valuable. Like, let's see what this guy has to say. What did he do when he ran into something like this?
Exactly, and that's
and
the part.
I think the biggest message in our book is, expect the unexpected. Brace yourself. Don't get thrown off course because something happened you didn't count on.
Exactly.
Because demons have ascensions to them. They're intelligent beings. Some of them vastly intelligent. Sometimes perceptive and smarter than the average human. And they think fast. They're not omniscient. They can't be two places at once. They can't bilocate. They can't outright read our minds.
Right.
They can only influence us to a certain degree, but they just think fast, and faster than we can usually. And they have Ann's experiences, in some cases of experience. So, you might be able to look into this book and look at the table of contents, find a chapter that's relevant, approaching, demonic and paranormal investigation. And you'll find something in there that can be useful.
Oh,
you may.
I think that everybody, from experience, I'm an avid reader and I do a lot of reviews, so definitely look for my review on Amazon under Carl. I'll try to take care of that for you guys before the end of the weekend, because I do a lot of book reviews. I'm a readaholic, so everybody does that.
In my class.
Also, yeah, go on. I'm listening to you.
I said I will be teaching your handbook to my class next year, so hopefully we get a visit from
bless your heart.
Well, Cody's going to come down and show
I do appreciate that.
Yeah, so Cody's going to come down.
Cody's going to come down and talk about some of the paranormal equipment too. These are all who we pick is. We like to run the junior paranormal groups with
educators,
with teens that need a purpose, that need a little bit of assistance as far as finding some way of going. You never know, you might find somebody that eventually goes to college for history, troublemaker in high school, and all of a sudden they want to be an historian, or they want to do a part of history, or somebody wants to build equipment, and that's what it is. That's what we do. So I want to talk to you.
Maybe some of them are going to want to follow the path for Carl.
Exactly.
And throw you a bunch of baby demonologists, Carl.
No, they wouldn't be demonologists. They would be, what would you call them? Training people?
If I can be of help. Yeah.
Dude, well, the first thing you have to teach them to say is, I need an old priest and a young priest. Do you know what that's from?
No.
The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's been a while. I think that's
an inviting scenario.
I think it's the only horror movie not in my collection.
One of my favorite lines from The Exorcist, which is weird. I have a favorite line from The Exorcist, but is that one?
If you can, yeah. What's that?
And a young priest.
You should see her tonight. She's dressed up like a mafia queen tonight. I'm telling you. And she's got the Italian fingers going on there as she's speaking. So I don't ask. So what I really want to talk to you about is you had an interesting story in your book, and there's a lot of laughter and lightness, and sometimes it's not always the demonic activity. It could be just about anything, but there was one case in particular that you described as your most memorable demonic case. It was in the section where Lana was asking you questions. Yes. So I really do want to talk to you a little bit just about that one particular section in that one chapter.
There's many others, but you got to buy the book.
You got to buy the book, guys. Sorry.
Lucky he's giving you this one.
I really want to hear about this.
Well, when you say my most memorable case, the one I outlined in the book was the possession case in Providence, Rhode Island, that happened way back in 1980. And that was possession of Lucas. Is that the one to which you're referring?
Yes, it is. I want people to understand that if they decide to pursue this, there is a positive side, but there's also a negative side. And even when the negativity gets solved, it's positive. But I want people to understand what it is that they would really be getting into. And that's why I chose that particular question.
Yes. Well, that singular case is the foundation of the book as far as my contributions to it. Because that's when I was thrown into a full-blown demonic situation, and it was like minute to minute not knowing what to expect. I've never been through anything quite like that before, and it taught me that I can stand my ground in the face of the unexpected and the sometimes bizarre and frightening. I would have, of course, done some things differently in retrospect. I would have documented more thoroughly. I was basically satisfied with my performance there. I stood my ground, stuck with it, did everything I could to help. But a lot of things were thrown at me and others who were there. I did not expect, when I stayed overnight, the first night of this residence, and I was invited to observe, And so I must have had a reputation even then, and a favorable one, I hope. And I was reclining on a couch or sofa, and the room was adjacent to the boys' room. The subject was a 14-year-old boy of Hispanic descent, and he'd been going through some strange episodes I'd heard of. And around 1 in the morning, I was awoken by a, blood-curdling scream. It was horrendous. It was like this boy was being flayed alive. I went over and flipped on the wall switch, and his bedroom door flung open on its own, and just like something pushed his door open, and then his body came flying out of there, out of his bedroom, being thrown around the room. I mean, I don't know. How do you describe a feeling like that? It's just amazement and horror and wonder. And his body was being flung around like a top or a dreidel. It was spinning and careening against the walls. And then he leapt up he kind of did a backward somersault and leapt up onto the sofa where I'd been reclining and started to jump up and down, and like this demonic laughter came out of his voice. His eyes were wild, his teeth showing, all his teeth. And so I came to my senses as he leapt back off the couch, and before he hit the floor, I grabbed onto him, tried to restrain him, but he bent my arms right back.
Wow.
And I didn't know what to do, but I knew I had to take action just to let this boy know I felt I was in charge, or to let the spirit that was invading him know I was taking, a stand here. And also to instill confidence in the people who invited me to stay over, But it's all like, I've got to act and maybe then think about it. And so I wasn't too forceful. I did my best to restrain him, but he was stronger than I at that point. And then he came to himself, and if nothing else, the way he cried was panicked, calling for his uncle. That showed there was no histrionics going on. This was genuine. And so an exorcism, or rather expulsion, was arranged, a minor form of exorcism, and that was also a horrendous but a fascinating experience. And when it began, the floor shook, something changed in the atmosphere, it got heavy, and then it was so silent in that room. There were about a dozen of us present, like 13, I think, and then my chair, with just me in it, moved back across the room to the wall.
Wow.
I don't know why it singled me out. We were in a semicircle, and my chair went back across the room. I didn't even have a chance to be frightened by it. It just happened so fast. Not the only time it's happened, either. That's the first time it happened. And that showed that somehow it's demonic. I know it's demonic if my chair with me in it moves back across the room into the wall. And that's like, get out of the way. We don't want you here. And, I got doused with a bowl of holy water,
Wow.
And, it was, and something was going from one person to the other trying to attack. I really felt the demonic attack. It was palpable. I wasn't subject to it. I didn't give into it. But I felt this onrush of emotion, anger, and frenzy come over me. And I was thinking if I was lesser in charge of my faculties, that might have led to a violent outburst for me.
Yeah.
But I did feel it. I know I did. And it was tingling, a very strong tingling feeling in the back of my skull. And that, pulled out of me. And immediately it seemed to go into a young lady in another room because she started to scream and pull at her hair. So it was a freaky night. What I'm describing lasted for about between an hour and a half and 2 hours.
Wow.
But it seemed like it was the whole night. It seemed like an overnight. But the boy was better because of it, so I'm so glad I was able to assist in that.
Right.
And he only had one more episode after that. He was still 14 years of age. His parents were driving by a Roman Catholic church, a cathedral church, and he started to scream. Typically in the Catholic faith, a supplicant, as they go, or one of the faithful, as they go by a church, they will cross themselves, perform the sign of the cross and kiss their index finger. But this boy started to scream when they went by the church. And that was the last incident of which I'm aware. He was okay after that.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not in touch with him anymore, but I think essentially the exorcism succeeded, and other than that, he grew out of it.
Wonderful.
He built up his own psychological defenses, whatever it was that was making him left him. And you always have the psychological as well as the paranormal aspects in any such situation. There has to be a vulnerability in the subject.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in a transitional stage, being 13 and 14 years old.
Yeah.
But by the time he turned 15, he was away from that.
Wow.
It's interesting that it was a boy, because you most commonly hear about young girls going through their puberty time.
They tend to generate more of what one investigator referred to as catepsy static. It's an emotional and adrenaline outpouring of psychic energy. And they usually enter into that. The female will enter into that phase prior to the male and more severely. Mm-hmm. But also, as I mentioned, he was of Hispanic origin, and that culture generally has more of a belief in spirit communication, so that might have been an influence. But not everybody of Hispanic origin goes through something like that when they're 14 years of age.
Now, what was the original beginning of the possession? Do you remember what that was about, Carl? How the boy initially got into that?
How it started?
Yeah.
How he did?
Yeah,
well, some years before, he was walking through a cemetery in Providence, in the west end of Providence, and he found a woman's glove in there, and he picked it up and brought it home with him. As far as I recall, that glove vanished. Nobody knew what happened to it.
Yep.
And, that seemed to start it, because then the spirit of a man, a wicked man, a dark man, would visit him in his bedroom at night. That's what he reported. So that was probably the start of it. And I think he had begun talking to this spirit at night when it would visit him. So that made the connection, and he was vulnerable. There's no rule against a demon invading somebody just because they're young.
Right.
And impressionable and vulnerable. Right. So this, was taking over. Now, he went through quite an ordeal, but that could have been so much worse.
Yeah.
He didn't miss school from it. He didn't for it. He didn't have to be hospitalized. He didn't have enduring effects from it. He's, emotional scars. Apparently not.
Wow.
He was okay from it. There are much worse cases, like, the case of Annalise.
Oh, my goodness.
The German girl, upon which the story of the possession of Emily Rose is predicated. So that's the extreme case.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's
And that did not end well.
Story. I don't know if anyone knew that, but that is based on the Annalise story. So the Haunting of Emily Rose, again, another horror movie, is actually based in truth somewhat, too. So, which is interesting. So, that's something that's absolutely amazing. So now, in Elise, was she around the same age as the boy was? Or how old was she when that all began with Annalise?
She was a little older. I believe she was 16, nearly 17 when the assault started. And when this person had started to oppress her and then push its way out to the surface from within her. Mm-hmm. And I did read up on her. I studied the case rather thoroughly. Mm-hmm. I can't give you all the details, like, names and dates and times.
Right.
But I'll tell you, if somebody wants to get into demonology or pursue that as an application, and if they're serious about it, read the case of Annalise, and even looking at the pictures and listening to the recordings of the exorcism that was performed on her,
wow.
or one of the exorcisms. It's very trying. It's very challenging to get through that and actually look at it, and then think, is this what I want? Could I face something like this?
Exactly.
Her screams of like agony and screaming like I've never heard in my life. Like just
but
pure
that was just the
screaming.
movie,
haven't heard
so
this
it's
thing.
not. it's not. It might not be the actual case.
I can
sounds.
I could
Yeah.
literally imagine what the reality must
All
have
right.
been.
Well, we happen to have a caller on the line, Carl,
Yay, a caller!
from Rhode Island.
Okay, I'm here for you.
From
Maybe somebody I know.
Rhode Island. All right, we're gonna take this caller.
From Rhode Island.
Yeah, Narodi.
Hello, you're live on the air. Who we speaking with?
Hello, this is Keith Johnson, brother of Carl Johnson.
Hi, Keith. How are you? Oh my God, this is like the best.
Oh.
Guy.
I love this.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. It's a fascinating program I've been listening to here.
Oh, we
You
You
have,
must have heard all the nice things I said about him.
Well, everybody, this is the actual infamous Keith and Carl Johnson.
Yes.
These are the twin brothers that were first in the Parent House.
that's right. Now, how is everyone? We talked to Mrs. Bev Johnson. How is your lady love doing? I got to get that out of the way first, you know.
Oh, that's what Sandra's doing. Wonderful. Oh, Sandra's, yeah, she's doing well. She went to bed a little while ago. She's upstairs, but she's doing well. We both had a busy day today, but
And how are you
we're
feeling,
relaxing at
Keith?
home. So,
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling fine.
Good,
I'm feeling fine.
good.
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great. You know, the stresses of life, but everybody has to deal with them, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday I heard my brother talking about the possession of Lucas. That was quite a horrendous case we were on. Yeah, that all happened. I was witness to my brother moving back in a chair. He
Wow.
moved back at least a few feet, and it was a large family chair too. And that was when the rumble came across the floor, and almost like an earth tremor. And when it reached Carl, he and the chair both started moving back spontaneously.
Oh my
So
God.
that's kind of when you know it's the real deal.
Now, what was happening with you, Keith, at the time? Did you experiencing any of that activity, attacking yourself, or how did that go?
I felt that you could tell. I call it an aura. It's like an aura about 3 to 5 seconds before something will manifest. You can feel that in the room where it's just draining the energy, just draining your body of energy. I did feel that. However, it's interesting that we were sitting in a semicircle, and at one point the spirit seemed to come out of boy Lucas, and it started looking for weaknesses in each one of us by tapping the back of our neck, the base of our skull, trying to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And it did to the girl next to me, the young woman next to me, who was one of the relatives of Lucas, and she started screaming and clutching the back of her neck, "Oh, Dios mío," screaming, and she ran crying out of the room, crying and screaming, saying was touching her, trying to get into her. It touched, and to the other side of me, it did touch Carl. Kind of warded off, and it did feel a tingling at the back of his neck, like probing him.
Wow.
It just left me alone. It didn't touch me. I think that was because I happened to have an open Bible. I had an open Bible in my lap that I've been reading. So I think that affected it. So that shows there is good power. There is good. It didn't even touch me at all.
Wow. Yes, I know. That's why I study in the Bible, everyone. I mean, the words, the history in the Bible. I mean, you can't.
See, I don't
it's
study
amazing.
the Bible, but I own a Bible.
But you
and
got
it
me.
always comes with me.
But you got me.
So
I'm
yeah.
a walking, talking Bible. No. So what is it in your opinion, Keith, in the putting together this demonology handbook? What piece of information did you find, in your opinion, to be the most prominent, most important piece that our listeners should take home with them tonight when they go out there and buy their Amazon and get on their Amazon Prime and order the book tonight?
Barnes and Noble.
Or Barnes and Noble,
That's
sure.
right.
Is that question directed to you?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Now I can't tell who's who.
Yes.
I can.
I think okay, how do you tell who's answering? Talking about the sex, yeah. I think it's very important talking about perceptions with an active demonologist. See, an active demonologist is not someone who just studies, but someone who actually goes out in the field, as Colin, Sandra, and I do, and Lana does. We actually go out into the field and try to help people. We interview the clients, and as Colin was just saying, obviously from these cases, we do get personally and physically, spiritually involved in these cases. So that's an active demonologist. I think that's very, very important. And also the media, how some things in the media are portrayed accurately and some are not portrayed so accurately. So you should have discernment about that as well. You know, some of the things that go on in the way things are presented in TV shows. That you have to kind of have an open mind and question everything as well.
Right, and it's so important that you guys, both you and Carl, talk about that because, yes, these things are somewhat based in truth, but it's not all truth. It's made for entertainment purposes. The realities in most cases are actually much worse than what the public could actually
even
see.
Sometimes reality TV isn't all reality. It's
staged.
They have to think about ratings and things. So.
So very, very true, and that's why, like you say, it's like being a witch. You don't just want to dabble in it. You really want to be able to, like you say, be active, be constantly learning, be aware, check in with your previous cases, make sure things are going well. Like, literally be an active demonologist, like they're saying. It's very important. Don't.
You said witch.
I said witch.
Yes, witch.
Yeah.
I don't know what that has to do with demonology.
Well, because you don't want to be a dabbler. A witch dabbler.
I'm just picking on her now.
You don't want to be a witch dabbler. Like, you don't want to be a Bigfoot dabbler. You want to be out there hunting for Bigfoot. You want to be out there doing that.
Exactly.
You want to be in the field, like the grunts down at the, work.
Yeah, I definitely, I really, again, I recommend this Amazon.com. Shadow Realms Demonology Handbook. You can find it on Amazon. You can go to Barnes and Nobles in case you have the Barnes and Nobles app as well.
Yes.
You can go down there, order the book, and I really do recommend this book. It's a really good book. But we've got on the subject of what is your opinion of the paranormal TV shows?
Right. What are you? Both you and Keith have been involved in like putting shows together in the industry for many years.
Exactly.
So what are your opinions right now, like on what's going on with the paranormal TV shows right now in this day and age? And that's either one of you have to take that one at a time.
Yeah. Well, I'll respond and Keith probably can chime in. I think they're presented basically as entertainment, and not everything on them is genuine. There is a new show coming out, and that's not, I'm generalizing here. There's a new show that's coming out, debuting, Paranormal Live, about the Tennessee rape chasers. And I have a feeling that they're pretty sincere. I mean, the fact that they're, broaching their investigations with live documentation,
right.
kind of smacks of sincerity, It's like, I think they're going to be the real deal. I haven't watched an episode of it yet, I certainly hope they're forthright. But that looks like it's going to be a good show.
So Paranormal Live, we'll have to make a point of checking that out. Yeah, that's pretty difficult to.
But there's a lot of contrivance in these shows, a lot of fibsy-wibsy,
Right.
Like I know that, and Keith and I have never staged anything, never contrived any evidence, especially not for a television camera, which is kind of why we've been excluded from some of the episodes. But
who shall remain?
And some of it gets so ridiculous. I think Ghost Hunters went on about 4 seasons longer than it should have. They weren't drawing in the audience anymore.
Yeah.
Paranormal State just got so out of hand that nobody took it seriously after a while.
No, every person. I don't want to talk bad, but that after a while it kind of took almost like a parody approach to Paranormal State because kind of seemed like the janitor's a demon. the rat that lives in the closet.
Yeah, I've only
Everything's a
watched.
demon on that.
I think I only watched 1 or 2 episodes of one paranormal show, which is really weird, but I did. And the only thing I got out of it was this one guy had this really awesome large remote control truck with a video camera that you could put in anywhere in case the places were too small.
Oh.
That's what I took out of it. It was
the lab,
lights.
yeah.
That's what I take out of it. I'm saying, wow, look
That's
at
a
that
good
equipment.
idea, right?
I want to build that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm taking out of this. That's a cool piece of equipment. I can get into holes and
Yeah,
get
the-
that angle.
Clint
and-
Brothers.
Yeah, but,
Brad and Barry King,
Yeah.
the Ghost Lab.
but for a long time,
Yeah, they
it
did
was
it like
part
a
of that.
CSI.
It wasn't like an introduction to everyone about the different equipment. When all those different TV shows did start up, I believe that's what people very first started to learn about is actual equipment for paranormal investigating. But yeah, you're right. Carl.
You can make it up.
Yeah,
Take a large remote control car.
I was able to.
Yeah.
I was able to investigate with the paranormal investigation with the Kling brothers of the old Opera House in Cincinnati, Ohio. And yeah, Brad and Barry Kling. Yeah, I think they were the real deal, and I think they showed a good concept. Perhaps it was maybe two-dimensional. I don't know. People weren't enchanted with it after it didn't go to a 4th season.
Right.
But I thought it was pretty good in its time. I wish it had kept on.
It's almost like the more real it is, the more people kind of lose interest of the reality of it.
That's just it. They didn't
Video
have
equipment.
the drama behind the scenes. They just went out and investigated the paranormal. And,
No, I think one of the
wanted some other
places.
dimension.
Oh, definitely. One of the places Michelle and I would like to get into to see if anything happens, and we don't know. It could be absolutely nothing. Is
Right.
UFM Theater.
Yes.
I mean,
Which that's coming up.
my husband, God rest his soul, used to tell me stories after stories after stories of that place. He was just like a history buff. So I would love to get in there just to see it. That's one of the places I
It's
would
the
like
lost
to.
historical places.
Exactly.
And that's another thing too, Carl. I don't know if you can kind of bring that, maybe talk about that a little bit too. Not every place is haunted.
Exactly.
You can go investigate and do an investigation and see if you do get evidence on your pieces of equipment that may suggest that there is more there. You can't automatically assume everywhere you go is
Right.
going to be haunted, right?
Right.
And two things. If somebody doesn't produce paranormal investigation, isn't able to capture it in the course of an investigation, that's still a success.
Right.
Because it doesn't mean the place was never haunted or isn't haunted. It just means that, while you were there, you didn't capture anything. Also, if, you don't get anything, that's documenting. That's a success.
Exactly.
You've got something to show for it.
Right.
That like, okay, we didn't get any paranormal activity. We expected to, but we didn't, and that's something. That's an experience.
I mean,
Yes.
and you can always go back, and it could be also one of those things where, the next time you go back.
Corroborate, see if it's different the next time the team goes in.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And sometimes does that happen with house cases as well?
Yeah, well, besides ghosts and demons, they're notorious, unseen beings are notorious for hiding and not cooperating. And they don't want to get their picture on. They don't want to be caught and revealed. They're shy that way.
Yes.
That's probably why they kind of get really annoyed by the very passionate European Portuguese lady yelling at them, "Get the heck out of this house!" You know what I mean? That would probably be it.
Like you're actually seeing it.
That's why when you investigate a house, often you hear from the subject, the clients, they'll say later, hell broke loose after that.
Right. And it's expected to, because it's all the rest of that energy is kind of just dissipating and going. It's a good thing. It's a positive thing,
And sometimes it just takes a few times too.
Now, here's an interesting question I have for you, Carl, too, and Keith, if you're still listening, and he's probably having some cookies with Bev over there. Now, do you find that? How do I formulate this question? Now,
Just spit it out.
okay. It just went
It just left?
It just totally left.
Okay, we're talking about TV and equipment, and then you
Yes.
mentioned cookies.
Yes. Oh, see,
Okay.
the cookies threw me off. Yeah, the cookies did throw me off. No, and like your feeling of the how do I explain this? Okay. The language barrier. I feel like the language barrier with demons. People have a confusion, and do you believe that demons have their own language? Is probably the first part of that question that I have to spit out. Do you think demons have their very own language that we don't know, that we're not aware of?
Yes, I do. I think they have a mode of communication that's alien to us, and maybe it even has a vocal propensity to it. And and you could probably more readily understand Japanese if you've never studied it than you could a demonic language. Mm-hmm. I think they do have their own way of speaking. And this has nothing to do with speaking in tongues, or
Right. Oh no,
Holy Spirit.
I don't speak in tongues.
Or, inspire someone to speak in angelic tongue. Mm-hmm. No, I think they do have their own language. That would explain some of the recordings that have been captured that are just unintelligible, but they're vocalizations, but they're saying something. Like, I was involved in an investigation where a lady was possessed. This was in El Dorado, Oklahoma. I was introduced to that case in November 2009, and a month before, a lady was taken over. She was a member of Oklahoma Paranormal Research Society, and she was taking over. She was enunciating. She was saying something, but it was no language we know of. And I think that was an example of demonic language. And because you find similarities in this when people speak demonic utterances under states of possession. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I do believe that there is. I don't mention that in my book, but I one of my next one.
You can definitely take a direct quote from me.
What is your take on reverse EVP?
Reverse EVP, meaning whether the language is actually reversed?
Yeah, no. Say if you get an EVP and it says one thing forward, but yet you reverse it and it says something totally different, but it's you can hear it. It's like legible, like writing. You understand what it's saying, but it says something totally different.
Yeah, well, that's a strong indication that it's a genuine demonic presence.
Definitely.
Because it's not something that, a human could replicate easily, not without sophisticated equipment in the studio. And if you know the source, if you know the person who recorded it and trust them, you trust that it's authentic, then that's a strong indication you got something not human there, and that's something disembodied that's speaking. So that's very strong and important evidence. You get something like that. And it's fascinating to analyze it.
A lot of people don't pay attention to the actual language.
Accelerate the recording or slow it down and see what messaging is coming from.
Yeah,
sometimes it's like with visual, with pictures and film. Sometimes information is a signature that's imprinted. There's noise, we call it, noise in the picture or noise in the audio recording that we may not decipher at first, but you analyze it.
Right.
And sometimes that's very fascinating to come out with something. Oh my God, it's saying something. It's telling us something that has a message. Now we caught it. It's almost like the spirit or the demon didn't want you to hear it, and it comes out. Or maybe they were banking on you hearing it, And surprise, surprise. That's one of the most fascinating pieces of evidence you can get, reverse EVP, as it's commonly referred to.
Well, because I'm curious about that, because I find it interesting, like when I go do the house cleansings, for instance, not demonic, house cleansing. And sometimes there is grandma still hanging around and she speaks Portuguese. And I find that if I perform the actual cleansing in Portuguese, that I almost feel like it's a little bit more successful in the language of who I'm actually speaking to than in English, for instance. It always makes me wonder if saying a house cleansing in English is actually the language that the spirit of the house is actually going to understand or not, or what if they speak Chinese, what if they speak Russian? I mean, what if they're not understanding us? So I always kind of try to find out about, a little bit about the language, the base of the language of the house, And if it's to do it in Portuguese, I'll do house cleansing in Portuguese. I can do it in Spanish. I can do it in English. I haven't tried it in Chinese yet, though.
No, she does speak Mandarin Chinese, too.
Multitasking. I can attempt it in Spanish. I just run out of Spanish very quickly.
Quiero un taco, right?
And I tell you, Taco Bell, yo quiero Taco Bell. Well, I'll tell you, yo hablo español, pero yo te entiendo más. Es solo porque yo viví en Puerto Rico por 4 meses en tiempo.
Wow.
Pero ahora no sabe mucho de la práctica. Pero un tiempo yo tengo una novia de España, entonces yo hablo español todo el tiempo.
Más
Pero
suave.
ahora no.
Hold it.
Más
What
suave.
did you just say?
He says that he feels that he did learn the Spanish when he was in Puerto Rico for 4 years.
Oh, you do want, you understood everything I said.
Yes, she does.
He
Michelle.
said, yes, I did. And tú hablas Spanish muy bien. Tú hablas español muy bien.
Yeah.
Better than you give yourself credit for. That was awesome. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I used up about, I used up about
speak English.
50% of the Spanish I have under my control.
That's very good. That's
Wow.
very good.
But
You know. Well, Santeria is also a big exorcism-based religion, too. So,
Right.
It would totally make sense.
yes, and that's what was one of the aspects of the possession of Lucas, that,
Uh-huh.
you know, there was a Santeria,
Right.
that, you know, Santerian priestess, you know, she's called a Santera,
Mhm.
who was schooled in such system. So you had Christian expulsion, and you had Santeria, which is, it is basically Catholic Christian, but
Right.
has some
Spanish heritage.
voodoo leaning.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but I mean, it's
voodoo-
influenced by the nun.
Mhm.
All right, we got about 4 minutes left to this show already.
Oh, Carl. 4 minutes.
So I want you to.
I wanted to say one more thing about availability of my book, just to interject. There's a charming little shop out in North Situate, Rhode Island, along Route 6, Danielson Pike, and it's called Bewitched of Situate, and the proprietress has my book on her shelf, Roxanne, and you can find it there. If you happen to be out in Situate, Rhode Island, and going along Danielson Pike, and on her bookshelf are copies of my book. You can find it there. You can also find it on the bookshelf in Slater Mill
I was
Museum
just gonna
gift shop,
say that.
as are copies of Keith's Paranormal Reality series.
Right, that was my next question was going to be that. And with all we just can't thank you enough, Carl, for coming on.
So before
Thank
we
you for the
say
opportunity.
our goodbyes, why don't you tell everybody how to get a hold of you in case something does come up?
And the
Um,
Super
and if you
Demonology
have-
team, Keith Johnson, Sandra, Lana, the Super Demonology team, like the Super Twins. You know?
Wonder Twin Power.
The default means of, yeah. By default, if you can't find any other way, look me up on Facebook. I'm probably the only Carl L. Johnson in the state of Rhode Island who's a demonologist, probably.
Probably.
You can find me on Facebook, but my website, I'll give you the handle for it. It's an https:// you probably don't need all that. Demonology Incorporated, and the handle is demonologyinc.wixsite.com and /home. But basically, Demonology Inc. Wixsite.com. When the site was newer, you kind of needed to put in the https:// but now it's been established. It's, you know, firmer. So you just put, you know, Demonology Incorporated is the name of mine and Lana's website.
Oh, it's going right up in the chat
and-
room right now as we speak. Make sure you get a
please
copy
do,
of
yes.
this. Send it to all your paranormal friends.
Now, we didn't
Everywhere.
even touch the surface of this book
No.
at
no.
all. So if you want to know more, don't forget, go to Amazon, go to the bookstores, go to the local places in Rhode Island. You're not from Rhode Island, order it right off of Amazon. You know,
Yeah.
you really want to pick up a
Yeah.
copy of this book. So,
Yes.
all right, we got about 1 minute left.
Yeah.
And we want to
Also,
say
yeah.
thank
Okay.
you.
There's an email address too. Demon, and they spell out incorporated in this one. Demonology Incorporated, all contiguous all together. Demonology Incorporated at gmail.com. That's simpler.
Gotta shoot him and
90 seconds.
email
Yep,
everyone.
we got about 90 seconds left. I want to say thank you so much, Carl, for being our guest. We had
You're welcome.
so much fun. We got Christy Emerald on next week. She is like a diamond. ran
You found
across.
her. I'm so
Actually, my neighbor,
excited.
my upstairs neighbor found her.
Yeah.
She is an amazing individual with an extraordinary gift,
Yes.
and I want to
Gotta check
share
her
her
out
with the
next week,
world.
Carl.
God,
Gotta
want
check
to
her out.
share her with the world. So
And give
I
me
want to
a
thank you very much. We got 60 seconds. And
I think it's always one. I think I'm always. It's always a full moon when I'm your guest. It's almost a full moon tonight.
Oh, I know,
That will
right?
be the key.
Make sure that you give Mama Beth
Yeah.
Johnson a big
Yeah,
hug.
give
Kiss,
everybody a
and
kiss. Thank you so
everyone.
much
I
for
sure
being our
will.
guest, but we
Sandra.
have to close this off now. I am so sorry. But bye. Thank you so much for
Thank you
being
so
our
much.
guest.
Kisses,
Good night.
It was
kisses,
so much
kisses.
God bless.
fun. Good night. God bless.
Have a good
My
day.
pleasure.
Have a good night, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thanks for tuning in to Awakening the Unknown with Susan Swanbeck and Michelle Sullivan. Join us next week for another fun-filled 2 hours, only here on the Ripped Network.
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Seconds.
Okay, let me shut
You
this
could
one
talk.
off. Hold on. Stop streaming.